This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is not America's Sweetheart, Davian.
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
What's going on, everybody? This is Jake Braddock, the Bearded Axe. In Japan, they call me Akuma no Kishin. But no matter what they call me, you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the web today, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the Bearded Axe, Jake Braddock.
I have always wanted to hear my name introduced in the style of Howard Finkel, so thank you very much. That's a dream come true.
All right, making history right from the top. Well, we like to do
Most definitely.
We like to do things big here on Wrestling With. So,
hey, go big or go home.
Where would the Bearded Axe be chopping down people next, event-wise?
Ooh, that is a very, very good question. There's a lot of dates up in the air right now. I've also got a couple of projects that I'm working on that I'm going to keep hush hush for right now.
Okay.
But trust me, when I find out everything is confirmed, then you'll know. Because if there's one thing about me that I've had pointed out to me by a lot of people, and I've just kind of accepted at this point, is there's no subtlety with me. Much like the Wrestling with Entertainment podcast, I'm a believer in go big or go home. So, yeah. But if you want to follow me and catch my not-so-subtle ass on social media, you can follow me at the Jake Braddock on Instagram, and you can follow me at Jake Braddock, JKG, all capitals, on X, Twitter, whatever we're calling it these days. And also, real quick, before we get into it, before this whole interview gets started, for any Japanese listeners that are tuning in, この podcast は英語のみ、英語のみです。Meaning, this podcast is in English only. I barely speak Japanese, so if we have any listeners and you speak English, cool, because if you want this podcast to last 5 minutes, then I'll do the whole thing in Japanese. But I have a lot that I want to talk about.
I speak a little bit Japanese as well, so I got Eigo desu ka. So I got that you said This is English only.
It was like Eigo desu.
Eigo desu.
Eigo no mi desu.
Yeah. And where can we find your merchandise as well?
You can find, actually, most of my merchandise is in Japan right now. So I'm working on some merchandise here for the United States. So you can find those wherever I pop up in the United States. That's another thing that I like to do, is I like to show up to places and shock the people when I show up.
Perfect. And you don't even have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Let's go with your most recent match. Let's say you recently wrestled Larintiz X. I believe he's one of your coaches as well. What was that experience like?
That experience. Okay, now we're getting into the real serious Barbara Walters questions here. That match, honest to God, was one of the most hellacious matches I have been in quite some time. But I saw something in Larintiz X that I haven't seen anybody outside of my other coach, Kongo Kong, push him to. And that's the fact that even though he's got 20 spirits in him, he's got limits. And he and I were in that ring for about what felt like an eternity, but was probably anywhere between 15 and maybe 20 minutes. And he kept coming. He kept fighting. But I know him well enough. I know his tricks. But it was also a situation of 20 versus 1.
Right.
And I pushed him to his limit, and he knows it. He knows it. But I still walked out of that ring under my own power. Now, did I walk the entire way to the back? No. You go out. And in fact, I challenge anybody, don't do this because you're not Jake Braddock. Go out somewhere, challenge 20 people to a fight, last as long as I did, and then see if you walk away. No, they're going to be carrying you. But I saw his limit, and the spirits could only carry him so far. And at the end of the match, right before, let's face it, the numbers advantage took over. In a weird way, the numbers advantage took over.
Of course.
I told him, you are going to have to kill me to truly beat me. And sure, he may have got the 1, 2, 3 that night, but his big mistake was he didn't get the job completely finished. So a rematch is going to happen at some point.
You know, obviously him being your coach, is that kind of a way of showing him, you know, how much you've grown since, you know, your training? Is that kind of like a good measuring stick for you to see, like, you know, this is where I was and this is where I am?
Yeah, that's exactly my mentality going into that match. In fact, I'd said to him before, you don't have to show up. Because if you do, I'm just going to remind you of what a bastard I can be. And I'm going to remind everybody in Little Rock, Arkansas, just what a bastard I can be, because it's been a while since I've been in Little Rock. It's been a while since I've wrestled X. And out of respect for him, for being my coach, for somebody that I do consider a friend, I wanted to show him that I'm not the same kid that he met 10 some odd years ago that was trying to be a wrestler and then didn't know what a work ethic really was, then had one beat into him, became a ref, and then ended up leaving that to go pursue a few other things, and then coming back to wrestling and just being that wide-eyed kid with a little bit of experience under his belt. I'm not that same guy. I showed him that I've gotten a bit of a mean streak since the last time I was in the United States. I've got a little more of a vicious side to me, and I'm very, very comfortable with showing it now.
And for anybody that obviously doesn't know, you know, you were working in Japan for quite some time. What kind of brought you back to the United States?
Well, on the one hand, my visa had come to an end.
Gotcha.
My student visa had come to an end. I initially went over there just to learn the language, just to try something new with my life, to try something exciting, and maybe wrestling would just happen, you know. But wrestling eventually did finally happen for me over there, and I spent 8 months with a wrestling promotion called Hot Shushu that also operates under the same company that ran Ice Ribbon. So if you guys are fans of Ice Ribbon and you want to see something that, quite honestly, is probably the most unique wrestling show in Japan, or one of the most unique wrestling shows in Japan, one of the wrestling shows that actually gets the fact that wrestling is indeed a variety show, you need to check out Hot Shushu. And it's not just because I'm on it. I truly believe that that is a show that needs to have more eyes on it, because the level of competition there is great. The level of competition there, some of them are new, but by God, they're picking it up quickly. And they're turning into, quite honestly, some really, really good wrestlers, some really great wrestlers. But I just wanted to show everybody that I was somebody. You know, I'd been through a lot personally, and kind of realized, wait a second, I'm about to turn 30. I'm in the car with X, and he says, you've been talking about Japan this whole time, like you want to go work there. Why don't you just move there? And I had that moment, that epiphany, if you will, of like, wow, I never thought of that. You know, because it just seemed out of reach. It just seemed that, you know, it was that the thing that only a select few people got to do. I didn't realize that kicking the door in, both figuratively and literally, was an option.
So,
like, and when I say literally kicking in the door, I mean quite literally kicking in the door.
Well, could you elaborate on that?
So, when I showed up in Hot Shushu, I was told that I was going to have to wait for my first match. And that even though I'd already been wrestling for about 5 or 6 years, the powers that be decided we're just going to wait on you for just a little bit longer. And I thought to myself, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to show them what I'm made of. It's time. The time for being nice was over. You know, the time was absolutely over for kowtowing and being polite. And I had to show them just who they were messing with. So I kicked in the door during the main event of their dojo show in June of 2023. I kicked in the door and I busted up the match. I made the promoter bleed. I hit her in the face with a chain wrapped around my fist, and it's all on camera. And then a few other things happened, but you're just going to have to go check that footage out for yourself.
And I'm assuming this is on YouTube, right?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Yes, it is. You can go find them, or you can go find that at the link in the description that I will make personally sure that you guys get.
Perfect. It will be in the description of the video, both on YouTube and Castbox.
Most definitely.
So, you mentioned, you know, you went to Japan just to kind of learn the language, and then wrestling kind of happened. How did you meet up with Hot Shushu? How did that relationship come to be?
Okay. So, really long story short, I actually have to give credit to one of the senseis at the language school. They pointed out that one of the other students at the school was a gear maker.
Okay.
And that maybe I should talk to that person. Maybe he has some connections, because they could tell I really wanted to wrestle. They could tell that I really loved professional wrestling. You know, they could tell that, like, oh, you've actually done stuff. So you should talk to this person. And yeah, ended up meeting up with him and talked with him for a little bit. And he said to me, basically, have you ever heard of Hot Shushu? It's a brand new company. I can maybe talk to them about getting a look at you. And from there, that's where the relationship started. I went to a couple of their training sessions. They I handed in my resume first time. They looked at me and they said, "You look like Bruiser Brody. Do you know who Bruiser Brody is?" And I'm like, "Of course, I know who Bruiser Brody is." I've been carrying I've been told that since like year 1 or year 2 that I've been wrestling, and I became a fan of him, like a huge fan of him, to the point where like now he is my gold standard of like wrestlers that, I want to, or that like, he is now basically my favorite wrestler of all time. Of course, you also have Stan Hansen on that list. You've got Terry Funk, you've got Cactus Jack on that list. There's a lot of just really mean, roughneck wrestlers, a lot of mean, roughneck brawlers that I patterned my own style in the ring after, and I put my own spin on it.
And massive Japanese legends as well.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
So, what has it been like to compete in Japan compared wrestling in the United States?
Okay, so it hurts more. I'll say that much.
Strong style.
Definitely that and influence of King's Road style from the old All Japan as well. They hit a lot harder than they do here, although in the past 10 or 15 years, you've seen a lot more foreign talent go over to Japan to wrestle and then bringing what they've learned from there back here. So you see kind of a fusion of the American style of pro wrestling with the Japanese style of pro wrestling, and that's kind of turned in, that used to be just the indie style, but now it's on a even bigger platform with both WWE and AEW. It's not just, that style is not just confined to Japan anymore, especially with the showing of fighting spirit. The exchanging of really, really stiff, really hard hitting forearms, strikes, all of that. It's really kind of permeated the American wrestling culture to where now it's just kind of one and the same. But in Japan, they definitely hit a lot harder. Another thing that I was warned about, but like didn't really take seriously until it happened to me, is in Japan, the fans are really, really quiet.
Yeah.
And it's not that, you're doing a bad job. It's not that, you should maybe consider another profession. It's actually they are watching every little thing that you are doing, and they are taking it all in. They are taking it all in like they would watch a baseball game, or here in America, we would watch a football game. Excuse me. Lunch is coming back to visit.
No worries.
But if you can get them to make noise, and here's a little myth busting, or here's a little Mythbusters thing for all of you. Japanese fans haven't always been that quiet. If you go back and you watch All Japan Women's from the 1980s, especially those matches between Dump Matsumoto and Chigusa Nagayo, those fans are losing their minds. It's like the Beatles have just come to town, and everybody's there to not watch like a rock band. They're there to watch professional wrestling. Even in 80s All Japan, you would hear the crowd go absolutely crazy. And in a lot of New Japan stuff, especially from back in the day, I don't know where the shift happened, but the crowd, like if you can get them to make noise, you're doing something right.
Right.
And humble brag, I've been booed out of a couple of buildings in Japan. So I guess I was doing something right.
That is
or
a big
doing something right.
compliment.
Yeah, doing something right while doing something wrong.
That's a great analogy. That's a great way to say it. But But no, when Japanese crowds want to be loud, they are the loudest. I still remember Okada versus Naito from, I think it was Sakura Genesis and
Yeah.
the Sumo Hall, and you would have thought that Naito was CM Punk in Chicago. The way that those people were chanting, literally everybody had LIJ merch on. So when there's a guy that they want to get behind, they get behind him.
Oh yeah, and that getting behind them goes both ways. Whether they really want to get behind him because they love him, or they really want to get behind him because they hate his guts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I remember, I'm assuming you've heard the story about when Vader debuted against Inoki, right?
Yes.
And it caused a riot. Oh, yeah, no, they will definitely show their displeasure
Yes.
as well as their love. But they are some of the most loyal fans as well. They are some of the most hardcore fans as well. Like, if you have just debuted in Japan, they're going to go to YouTube and they're going to look you up to see where you've been, what you've done. I remember when my first match came up, or whatever, like, I was having, like, my first few matches in Japan, and they would put them up on YouTube in, like, highlight forms. A lot of the comments are like, wow, this Jake guy is really strong. We've seen him do some stuff like this in America. You know, he's carried the big chain with him since then. He's been doing this same thing. So they know, to a degree, who you are, like, right as soon as you get to the country.
Oh, yeah. Now, obviously Japan, very different part of the world. The best way to learn about a culture is through the food. What was you eating in Japan?
Oh, yes. Oh, here we go. This is going to be good.
What was you eating in Japan?
What was I eating in Japan?
Yes.
So I became a really big fan of okonomiyaki, specifically Osaka-style okonomiyaki. So for anyone that hasn't had this, it's basically a pork pancake with like this really awesome sauce put on top of it, and then like fish flakes on top of it as well. It is literally one of the greatest things I've ever had in my life. There's also honey mustard gyoza. So of course gyoza is like a pork dumpling, and there's one restaurant in Shinjuku called Kakekomi that I definitely recommend. They have honey mustard gyoza. This stuff, as both me and my friend would describe it, sex on a plate. It is that good. Let's see, what else? What else did I become a really big fan of? There is.
You mentioned the takoyaki.
Go ahead.
You mentioned the one in Osaka was the best. What made that one better than something like in Tokyo?
Okay, so there is different styles of preparing okonomiyaki. So there is the two big ones are the Osaka style, which is like the pork pancake, and then there's the Hiroshima style, where it's like a hard-boiled egg, like it's a pork-style hard-boiled egg laid on top of noodles.
Okay.
I liked Hiroshima style, but when I want okonomiyaki, my first choice is the Osaka style.
I could get that. Yeah. It's pork. It's a pork pancake. Who's going to say no to that?
I've met a few people, and I don't hang out with them.
And you would have the right to do so. That is one.
Yeah.
But I cut you off. You can continue.
What else? I became a huge fan. So, full disclosure, I'm a beer drinker. I became a huge fan of Kirin Ichiban. I've had it a few times, like here in the United States, but it became my go-to. It became my go-to in Japan at one of my favorite. It basically became like my second home. This pub in Otsuka, Japan, called Republic. It's an Irish bar in Tokyo. So, and the guy that owns it, his name is Mogi, really cool guy. Most of the regulars there became like family to me. They helped me out a lot, especially with like getting acclimated to the country. You know, they helped me set up my first Japanese bank account and all that. They helped me navigate some of that stuff. But the guy that owns the bar is Irish, or he's Japanese, but he lived in Ireland for about 10 years. So when he speaks English with an Irish accent. So when I went in there for the first time, I went up to the bar and I ordered in Japanese. He then looks me up down a couple times, and he just gets a big smile on his face, and he's like, "You realize I speak English, you fucker?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Oh my God, we are about to be best friends."
Okay.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we kind of veered off from like food into like alcohol. By the way, Strong Zero, it's called the Foreigner Killer for a reason. You have like 2 of those, you're having a great night. You have any more, you don't remember anything.
Okay.
So I know with I think it's Tony Storm that does Storm Zero.
Yes.
Or somebody has a finish now called Strong Zero or like something zero as a reference to that drink. Yeah, there's a reason. That stuff will knock you out.
Now, just out of curiosity, are you going back to Japan to stay in Japan, or will you be, is your base going to be in the United States and just travel there?
At this point, I don't know yet. I really can't say at this point. I would love to. I would love to go back to Japan for the long term. I would love to, get there and be able to tell the stories that I want to tell. I want to be able to, experience all the food and the booze and the friendships that I have over there again. I actually just recently came back from tour back in January and did a show on Christmas Eve of last year and then did one on January 25th of this past January and had a really good time. It was my first time going 18 minutes in a match and not realizing I went 18 minutes. But that's a different story. But I would love to go back. But right now, I'm just kind of taking things as they show up. I want to go to Canada at some point.
Okay.
I want to go to Canada at some point. I want to go back to some places that I haven't been to in a while. I want to wrestle in my home state of Kentucky again because I haven't since 2020.
Okay. It's been a hot minute.
Oh, yeah. 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not the same kid that showed up back in like 2018, 2017.
Well, tell us about you said it's a different story. Tell us about the 18-minute match.
The 18-minute match. Okay. So originally, I was thinking, okay, this match will probably be like 13 minutes, something like that. And then you get out there and you get in the moment. and the fight starts, you'll lose track of time. And I hadn't really been keeping up and studying my Japanese, so I was just kind of going with the flow with the match, listening to the people, you know, doing what I do best. And then all of a sudden, I hear what sounds like "Juhappen," which in Japanese means 18. And I'm like, wait a second, 18 minutes? Oh God, boom. I hit my opponent, Koyuki, with the axe bomber, covered her 1, 2, 3, dunzo. And I'm like, wow, never in my career did I think I would have that long of a match. You know, because usually my matches last anywhere from like 2 to 10 minutes. You know, because you know how time is very, very valuable, or is very, very precious on a show.
Oh, yeah.
But when you are trusted enough to go over that time limit and nobody be mad at you for it, you're doing something right.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. That was going to be like the follow-up. Was there any heat because of that? But
no.
That's...
No. They were just as shocked as I was. They're like, wow, we knew you had good cardio, but like, we didn't know you would go that long. Like, for the longest time, I didn't have the cardio to do that. For the longest time. But another thing that's different about wrestling in Japan versus wrestling in the States is the training is a lot tougher.
Right.
And pro wrestling training in America is tough. Like, really tough. Physically, mentally, you know, cardiovascularly, like, it's tough. But training in Japan, that goes to the next level. So usual training session in the United States would go anywhere from like 2 to 3 hours. The hot shushu training schedule on Sunday is we would get in at about 10 a.m. and then we would train till about 6 p.m. Obviously, there'd be like an hour break in between, but it is constant in the ring training. Now, it's not like old school Japanese training, but it's still tough.
Right.
Because, like, you hear horror stories about the old school way. Like, wow.
Well, speaking of training, coaching, tell us about your other coach, Kongo Kong, and your relationship with him.
Kongo Kong. Kongo Kong is a giant monster of a man, of whom is one of the funniest people on the planet. He's also one of the most caring people on the planet. I call him Pops for a reason. You know, he was gracious enough to open his school to me because I was on a show with him in Dallas, Texas. And I was just kind of thinking to myself, man, I could really maybe use a little more training to get to that next level. Maybe Kongo Kong can help me out. And he was very gracious. He's like, you do realize, though, that this is going to be a 4-hour drive both ways for you to come to training and to leave. And I'm like, yes, I do realize this. So he's like, okay, if you're actually up for it, I'll see you next week. And that next Tuesday, I got in my car, drove 4 hours after doing a 3 or 4 hour shift at the job that I had at the time. So I drove from Lexington, Kentucky, all the way up to Bluffton, Indiana, where Professor Kong's Pro Wrestling Academy is. And he's like, wow, you actually did that? How long was the drive? I was like, 4 hours, exactly like you said it would be. He's like, that's dedication. And I would do that 2 times a week for about 6 or 7 months. And then I got the wild hair up my ass to go to Japan. And I would have to cut that down to about once a week, doing that 4-hour drive there, or that 4-hour drive, 4-hour drive to 4-hour drive back, so that 8-hour drive. And eventually I got really comfortable, you know, kind of where I was at in ring. And from there, went to Japan, got more comfortable with my style, because I remember Shayna Baszler actually talking about she learned to be more comfortable with her style of wrestling in Japan, because your standard independent wrestler nowadays, they're the ones going a million miles an hour, you know, doing all the great, you know, athletic stuff that they're doing. But there's not really any cut and dried, you know, no bullshit brawlers anymore. And if they are, they're doing deathmatch. And you can only do that for so long.
Right.
You know, there's not really any just big, rough, mean guys out there anymore. So that was just the style I naturally went towards. Kongo Kong encouraged it. Larintiz X encouraged it. Japan accepted it. And they're like, this is who he is. We love him for it. We hate that we love him, but we love him for it.
Well, I mean, we've talked about food, and I did mention this to Larintiz when we had him on. How many burgers did you see Kongo Kong eat in one sitting?
I don't have a Kongo Kong burger story. I do have a Kongo Kong Bojangles chicken story.
Okay, here we go.
I watched that man crush an 8-piece meal, or an 8-piece meal set, and a gallon of sweet tea.
Okay.
Like, after training, because, like, there's not a Bojangles franchise in Indiana. That's like Kentucky and further south. So all the time he would be like, hey, bring me Bojangles, bring me Bojangles. Did you remember to bring me Bojangles? I finally remembered to bring him Bojangles. And he's like, give me the 8-piece, get me these sides, and we're good. I watched him crush it. I'm like, oh my God. So it is true.
And probably Larintiz was telling you, I told you, bro.
Oh yeah. He's like, I told you, bro. Told you.
There's another name that I kind of came across as well. I'm not sure if it's the actual one, but I mean, who hasn't come into contact with this guy? Can you tell us about your relationship with Brutal Bob Evans?
Brutal Bob Evans, Uncle Bob. One of the most helpful guys in professional wrestling, one of the nicest guys in professional wrestling. Damn good wrestler, too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he was willing to spend time to coach. He was willing to, you know, actually, like, point or to, like, really get deep dive into, like, weak points that he would see on an individual. And by the end of a seminar, that wrestler went from nothing to, okay, now he's something. You know, that weak point was gone by the end of that seminar.
Okay.
So I got to give a lot of props to, and a lot of props and a lot of thank yous to Brutal Bob Evans as well for helping me, you know, get this far.
Hey, he's everybody's uncle.
He is everybody's uncle for a reason.
But going back to Kongo, you haven't had a one-on-one match with Kongo, right?
No, I have not. He and I were the final two in a battle royal in Bluffton, Indiana. It was the Street Fair Rumble in 2021. Going into that match, I was not in the best mental frame, or the best mental frame of mind. my youngest biological sister had passed away suddenly at the age of 21 about 2 weeks before this match.
Sorry for your loss.
And thank you. But like my headspace was not, in the right place. I'd had a lot going on with that. Larintiz X, like I was in West Kentucky where Larintiz X is based out of, and I was at his house for the entire week almost. Going over and him just being like, hey, are you good? Let's talk. Let's play some video games. Let's do this. Let's do that. But Kongo Kong and I were the final two in this battle royal. And it came down to he and I were just swinging at each other. And he goes back to the ropes, and I go to clothesline him. I think he's going to duck. All of a sudden, he goes falling over the top rope. And I'm like, oh, my God. I just eliminated Kongo Kong from this battle royal. He is going to kick my ass when we get to the back. And then, all of a sudden, here comes the trophy. The trophy is now in hand. And I'm just screaming to the heavens, like the biggest fucking battle cry I think I have ever done in my career. And then he gets in the ring. And he begins to tell the story of what had happened to me. All the stuff that you've just had to conquer. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. Every big moment in your career, you deserve everything you get, son. And boom, I was a heel in that match, but all of a sudden that just washed away, and it was just boom. I gave him a big hug, raised his hand, and it was one of those situations where if you've seen the movie Friday, it was one of those, he about to cry in the car, isn't he? Yes. Yes, it was.
Sounds like a very big and emotional moment for you.
Very big, very emotional moment. But the mean streak still continued after that. But then again, I think that's just my personality thing. But that also was kind of the impetus that led me to eventually debuting in Japan. So all of these stories kind of interconnect there.
Right. And like you said earlier, you kind of, you started training wrestling, then you kind of walked away from wrestling, and then you kind of came back to wrestling.
Yeah.
So what kind of caused you to take that step back, and what ultimately did bring you back?
Long story short, I also wanted to pursue music. That ended up ending. And I was at a friend's house and they were watching, I think it was TLC 2015. And I was like, this is kind of lame, I'll give the full story when I write the book, because that's a long, complicated story.
Fair enough.
But very long, very very complicated story. But watched that event. I was like, this is all right. And then wait a second. We got something for you. Here in a couple of days on Wednesday, there's going to be another show. We want you to come over and watch. It's NXT TakeOver London. It's a completely different product. It's WWE, but it's a completely different product. And I'm like, okay, I've heard a little bit about NXT. I hadn't really been watching that much wrestling. And if I was watching wrestling, I was watching old school, Jim Crockett Promotions wrestling, But from there, watched the show, was completely blown away.
That was
by it. I'm like, oh my God.
Jake, that was Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor, right?
Yep, that was Samoa Joe versus Finn Balor. I think that was
Bailey and Nia Jax.
Asuka. Yeah, Bailey, Nia Jax. That was also Asuka versus Emma at the time.
Yeah.
You know, Tennille Dashwood. But
Tennille Dashwood, but she was Emma in WWE.
Yeah, she was Emma in WWE.
Yeah. Continue, I cut you off.
No, that's all right. But watched that show, was completely blown away. And one of my friends just happened to ask, kind of in the aftermath of that show, like, didn't you used to do this? Or weren't you training for this at one point? And I'm like, yeah, I was. Well, do you think you'd ever go back? Fuck. I didn't think of that. It was another one of those, I didn't think of that. But eventually got back in the gym, stopped drinking as much as I was drinking at that point. Stopped drinking for a little bit, you know, started to get in the gym, started to try to get in some sort of shape. And then from there, went to a show to seek one wrestler out to see if he would train me. Ended up running into X, who, again, I've known since 2010. So he and I have been friends for about the last 12 years. And from there, got the trained at Swag Wrestling. And it was me and Blake Christian that graduated from that class.
Okay.
So there's that too.
All right. Ironically enough, I just seen Blake wrestle in AEW.
I was about to say, yeah, he's been blowing up pretty much everywhere. He is one of those guys that is so athletically gifted, it's not even funny. You know, we have our differences of opinion on like wrestling styles and all that, but at the end of the day, it's just flavors of ice cream.
Right.
You know, I like to punch people in the face, and he likes to do like all these crazy like athletic flips, stunts, and we both do really well at those. We both play to our strengths very, very well.
Right.
You're not going to see me hit a 450 anytime.
I think that's a great segue into Jake's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the roads, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh, God. Oh, I got several. So I'll just give you the highlights. There was one time me and a few wrestlers went down to North Carolina for a show that ended up being partially a pro wrestling show, partially a birthday party for two baby turtles. And they had like little party hats on them and everything. And of course, several funny misadventures happened on that trip. There was also the time where me and X were on the way to a show in San Antonio where I had fallen asleep, and all of a sudden I wake up and he's like, "Jake, I thought that guy was wearing a tan suit." What guy? What guy? What do you mean? I thought that guy was wearing a tan suit. This man was just walking down the road naked, like side of the highway in San Antonio. Got a lot of those, but as always, I think you'll hear every professional wrestler say this. Some of the best stories we're not allowed to tell.
Yeah. Well, those were definitely interesting ones, to say the least.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, how tan was this man?
Pretty fucking tan. I don't know. I was asleep because afterwards he was just like, "Be glad you were asleep, but I just want you to think on that." Because like, I had to see it. You have to experience this too. Like, oh God, why X? Why?
Well, you mentioned music. You was actually in a music video for Cindy the band, correct?
Yes, I was.
Tell us about it.
All right, so originally the concept for that music video was it was all going to be set in a wrestling ring. And I was asked, since the drummer of that band is my younger brother, he had asked me, hey, is there a way we can get a hold of a ring? You know, or is there a way that we can come into a show and we just film some stuff there? And I was like, okay, yeah, and I'll just show you guys like how to take, you know, bumps and all that, so that way you guys can at least be protected. But through all the legal red tape and all that to try to do that in Kentucky, that idea ended up getting kiboshed. And eventually it was just decided that this is going to be like the daily life of two guys who are luchadors. One guy's working as a pizza delivery guy and the other one's working at an office. And eventually they meet up on the roof of a building and they end up double clotheslining each other, and that's the end of the video. Where my part comes in is where Bryce, the guitar player and singer, is driving down the road, eating a piece of pizza, not paying attention to where he's going. He rear ends a car. Turns out that car is being driven by Jake Braddock. So it's almost like this city of wrestlers, you know. And of course, I get out of the car and then do my best Sting impression and point at him menacingly with a golf club. We tried to get a baseball bat, but we didn't have one. But luckily, Bryce was a golfer, so he just had golf clubs. And I'm like, all right, that'll work.
Yeah, I'd say so. All right. Now, can you tell us about your love of Dragon Ball Z?
Oh, God. Dragon Ball Z has been a part of my life since about 1997. I saw it was, yeah, about 1997. This is like pre-Toonami. So I remember being a little kid. You did do your research. But I remember being a kid and just flipping through channels. I didn't have cable at the trailer that I was living in at the time, so we just had regular ass network TV. And Dragon Ball Z was in syndication at the time. And I was flipping through channels. All of a sudden, there's this really weird cartoon on where this character named Vegeta is fighting this guy named Zarbon. Okay. And I'm like, wait a second, what is this? And all of a sudden, Zarbon goes from like this Mr. Perfect looking guy to this big hulking monster. And I'm like, I've never seen that in a cartoon before. And I've been watching like Power Rangers and stuff like that. So I'm like, it's not like it was shocking, but it's like, I've never seen that in a cartoon, you know?
Right.
And of course, as a little kid, you don't really catch a lot of like syllables and stuff, or like you're barely paying attention because you're too busy watching. So I thought Vegeta's name was Cheetah. And I'm like, this guy doesn't look like a cheetah. Why are they calling him Cheetah? So I watched that, was completely blown away. Then later on, finally got cable Toonami premieres. And from there, I got to see like Thundercats, Sailor Moon, and there's the show Dragon Ball Z. Something seems familiar about this show. And I was like, wait a second. I think I've seen this before. This is that weird cartoon that I was watching. It was real. I didn't imagine it. So started watching it, and from there, fell absolutely in love with the characters. Initially, because like growing up a big wrestling fan, Dragon Ball Z is basically like professional wrestling, but without all the fights being centered in a ring.
Oh yeah.
Like, you have the dynamic heroes, you have the dynamic villains, and all of this gets settled either on Planet Namek or on Earth or at the Cell Games. Like, it all culminates to the same thing. So, immediately fell in love with the show. Initially, huge fan of Goku. What 10-year-old boy isn't? Then, as I started watching the show more and I got older, I started to relate more to Vegeta. Because Vegeta had to fight literally for everything he had. You know, like, he beat Kakarot, but in his mind, he didn't. And I didn't understand that as a kid. But as an adult, especially doing what I do, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it 100%. So, like, Vegeta to me is like one of the greatest characters in anime history because he literally is all of us. He is the everyman. You know, he didn't get that Super Saiyan transformation handed to him. He had to go out and torture himself in space, and when he finally stopped caring about it, that's when he got it.
Right.
You know, every leap in power he got, he had to fight, scrape, and claw for, and by God, that is a compelling story.
Oh yeah, definitely an unexpected character arc from him that spanned the whole series.
Oh, exactly. Exactly.
Well, I mean, obviously...
Meanwhile, it's like Goku can just like... Meanwhile, Goku could just like run around twice and all of a sudden he's got like 5 new transformations. It's like, come on, dude.
I was going to say...
Come on, dude.
Super Saiyan 3. Right out the bat.
Yeah. Super Saiyan 3 right off the bat. Like, looked cool, useless. At the end of the day. Useless.
You know, yeah. Super Saiyan 3 is probably like one of the most aesthetically pleasing transformations, but he did not.
Oh yeah.
He didn't beat anybody with it. He didn't beat Boo or J-Numbo with it.
No.
Yeah.
No. He reverted back to like Super Saiyan, and then all of a sudden he just hits him with the Spirit Bomb. Boom! It's over. What the hell was Super Saiyan 3 all about?
Right.
It was just there to sell toys. I'm on to you, Toriyama. God rest his soul. I'm on to you.
I'm assuming you haven't seen Daima yet.
I've watched a little bit of Daima.
I haven't. I'm waiting for the dub to come out, the full dub. But yeah, definitely don't go online because there's a lot of spoilers, but a lot of really cool spoilers as well.
Oh yeah. The net is dark and full of spoilers.
Unfortunately.
But unfortunately, yes. Another anime that I didn't start watching till I started wrestling in Japan, Kongo Man.
Kongo Man.
Kongo Man. In the States, we got the sequel series, Ultimate Muscle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is like Kongo Man, like, is Ultimate Muscle. So like a lot of the characters from Kongo Man are in that show. So you remember Kid Muscle's dad.
Okay.
That's his story. Kongo Man is Kid Muscle's dad. So it started out as like a parody of like Ultraman, but then slowly but surely, or that just had some wrestling references, then it just went fully into being a wrestling anime and has been that way ever since.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I've been watching a lot of that. Buffalo Man is my favorite character in that show because he is based on Bruiser Brody. So obviously got to be a fan of him.
Clearly.
There's also Terry the Kid, who's a definite takeoff on Terry Funk. I know Dusty Rhodes is at some point in that show back in the 80s. They've got a stand-in for like basically everybody that was a big star in Japan from the time the show came out till now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about horror movies on audiobook?
Horror movies on audiobook. So that was just something I ran across one day in the gym. Or that I was on my way to the gym, or like I think I was still in my apartment. But I was really into like audiobooks. Like, because usually, like, you could have metal blasting in your ears all you want, but at some point, you just want somebody to talk to or to like to listen to like give your ears like a break. So I was scrolling through like different horror audiobooks because I'm a huge horror movie fan as well. And one of the ones just so happened to be Night of the Living Dead. Night of the Living Dead is one of my favorite horror movies. That was actually the first real horror movie I ever saw back in the day. My dad forced me and my brother to sit down in a room. He left the room, shut the door, and said, "You are not allowed to leave until this movie is over." All right?
Okay.
Because both my brother and I were really excited to see Van Helsing, because like they had the big toy marketing campaign and all that. It's like, this stuff looks cool. Or both my brother and I were like, this stuff looks cool. That movie turned out to be a disappointment. But he's like, if you can sit through this movie and you don't leave the room, I will take you to go see Van Helsing. I'm like, okay, bet, we'll do it. Both my brother and I, we sat in the room. I left a fan of horror movies. My brother was traumatized. So like you see me walk, so like if you could just imagine like young me walking out of the room like, wow, that movie was great. That was so scary. It was so awesome. You know, and then my brother just coming out, what do you think of the movie? It was a movie. I'm just going to go play video games now.
I'm assuming he didn't want to see Van Helsing after that.
I've seen Van Helsing. He actually liked it.
Okay.
He's like, don't worry, Van Helsing's not going to be as intense as that movie was. But hell of a movie to start on. Hell of a movie to start on. Like, if you wanted to get closer to that, you would have to show, like, the old 1930s, like, Dracula films or something like that. You'd think you'd start easy. Nope, not my father. He's like, no, I'm going to show you the real stuff.
Straight to the hardcore.
And I'm going to give you the most tame. Yeah, it's like, I'm going to give you the most tame of the real stuff.
Right.
And then after that, he's like, oh, you thought that movie was scary. Wait till you see Dawn. So found that audiobook, started listening to it while I was working out. Then I found a Dawn of the Dead audiobook. Then I found a Day of the Dead audiobook. So I was like, oh, this will be a cool post. You know, I know people like horror movies on this page.
Is it would it be, isn't it hard to focus on, working out, listening to an audiobook rather than, music? Like, you could turn your brain off listening to music or focus on what you're doing. But, you do have... Oh, continue.
No, you continue. No. I interrupted you.
No, I was just going to say, because you could just focus on what you're doing listening to music. But, audiobooks, like, you do have to pay attention to what you're listening to.
Well, for me, like, if I'm going to listen to an audiobook while I'm working out, it's got to be a property that I already know inside and out.
Okay.
So, like, the George Romero zombie films or the Dead series, I already know those stories inside and out. It's just a different take on it. And I'm cool with that. I'm able to, pay attention to my lips and all that way. My brain also, like, is weird. Like, I can listen to an interview or something like that I've never heard before. Or, like, say, something like that. And I'm able to kind of multitask in that sense. That it's like, okay, I get this done. I'll catch this information real quick. And if there's something that I've missed, I'll rewind after this set. So it's kind of a reward, almost, for me.
Okay, I got you.
Like, during the workout.
All right. Now, can you tell us about your tattoos and if there's any significant meaning to them.
So my tattoo, I got that actually as a cover-up of a tattoo that I got when I was 18 years old. It was my 18th birthday. My dad took me and my brother to Nashville. We were going to see Kiss on the Sonic Boom tour.
Okay.
But the main event was Kiss, but like the semi-main event was I wanted to get a tattoo. So I was a little Undertaker fan at that point in life, and I didn't think, I don't think I'll ever wrestle. This won't be a marketing issue or anything like that in my life. It'll never happen. So I got the Undertaker's Ministry Cross tattooed on me. This won't be a problem at any point in my life, will it? It eventually ended up being a problem later on in life. While I was training, there was a kid that showed up to training that didn't last very long, wearing a John Cena t-shirt. And everybody started clowning on him about his John Cena t-shirt and all that. This was like 2010. And I was like, ha ha ha, this dude's wearing a John Cena t-shirt. Oh, this dude's, it's like, don't show up to training wearing a wrestling t-shirt. Meanwhile, it finally hits me. Oh God, I have an Undertaker tattoo. That's permanent. I need to hide. So eventually I did start, or once I actually got close to my debut, I was like, okay, I've got the money saved up. I'm going to get this tattoo covered up. And I found the thing that was closest, that would, one, cover the tattoo up, but two, had some sort of like thing that relates to something in my life. The reason I picked the tattoo that I've got is because it looks very similar to the Jim Lee style of art. So Jim Lee, for those that don't know, used to be the guy that drew the X-Men in the 90s. Okay. So the animated series that, like the comics, that show was based upon is based off of the Jim Lee comics, or the Jim Lee run on the X-Men comics. So those costumes that became, iconic, the yellow and blue spandex costumes, that's Jim Lee through and through. Also, huge X-Men fan, by the way.
All right. I'm imagine that it was a big fanboy moment seeing Wolverine in the yellow costume for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yes. X-Men, or Wolverine being my favorite member of the X-Men, especially as one that is a child of the 90s. As soon as I saw him in the iconic blue and yellow, or yellow and blue spandex, I was like, oh my God. And then the sleeves get ripped off and he pulls the mask on. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Wolverine I wanted to see this entire time.
Yeah, it took us two decades to get it, but it was definitely worth it.
Oh yeah.
No, definitely.
But it was definitely worth it.
Definitely the best superhero movie in quite some time.
Oh yes, agreed.
But I think that's a great segue into the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
Oh, okay. First 3 songs on that soundtrack would be War Ensemble by Slayer. That was a song that my dad was watching the music video for on MTV while he was in the waiting room of the hospital waiting for me to show up on the planet. Number 2 would be, oh God. I was going to save this for the third, but I'm going to have to say I Want to Be an Asshole by a band called the Jasons. These guys, I've been friends with, or sort of friends with those guys for a while now, been a fan of theirs for a while now. And I feel like the song really kind of encapsulates, you know, the transformation from being like this goody two shoes little kid all of a sudden into the man that I am today. And the third one, fuck. I'm gonna have to say Overkill by Motorhead.
Okay.
Because that driving double kick drum is like one of the greatest intros to a heavy metal song, other than fucking Painkiller by Judas Priest. But Overkill came out first, so they got the edge on Priest in that one. Also, huge Motorhead fan as well. So I would have to go with those.
And a solid 3 picks, to say the least.
Thank you.
Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays Jake? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
All right, I got it. So we're gonna go a different route.
Okay.
So it's not gonna be a live action movie.
Okay.
If we're gonna do this, like if there is going to be a story of Jake Braddock, because I'm gonna look at this as like, okay, do they want the Clark Kent story or do they want the Superman story? If we are doing this story right, we're gonna go the Superman route. And it's going to be basically a horror comedy. It's going to be a horror like a biopic by way of a horror comedy, and it's going to be animated.
Okay.
So it can be that way it can be as gruesome as I would want it to be. You know, it would also pay tribute to all the comic books and all of the shows that I was watching as a kid. So it'd be a mix of like heavy metal, Lords of Chaos, and a little bit of the haunted world of El Super Beasto. And this movie would definitely be rated R.
All right, well, this is sounding like a fantastic movie, to say the least.
But as far as casting, okay, who would voice me? Unfortunately, Kevin Conroy is no longer around. Otherwise, I would have cast Kevin Conroy to voice me, because also grew up a huge fan of Batman the Animated Series.
Who hasn't?
And I was about to say, and I'm a fan of, Kevin Conroy's work as Batman, but also I feel like he and I have a similar timbre of voice. So like a high bass, almost like a high bass, low baritone tone to it. So if we're going to cast the voice of Jake Braddock, it is either going to be Christopher Sabat, the guy that voices Vegeta,
yeah,
and Piccolo, and most of the Dragon Ball cast,
and all animes out there.
Yeah.
As well.
Or Scott McNeil, because he voiced Piccolo, and I think Scott McNeil also voiced Wolverine in X-Men Evolution.
Okay.
So it would, like, if we couldn't get Chris Sabat, it would be Scott McNeil, who voices me. Who else would be in that movie? You get Michael B. Jordan to voice Larintiz X, and then you would get Denzel Washington to voice Kongo Kong. I'm trying to think of who else would be in it. Those are the people that are just coming to the forefront. But if I'm going to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo, in that movie. At some point, there's gonna be some memory of like something like either my dad or my granddad said to me. That's just coming to the forefront of my mind, and that's probably where my voice would be. Is I would either voice my dad or my granddad.
Okay. You even got your cameo sorted out as well.
Oh yeah.
And you were even ahead of the curve on me. Usually I ask every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you in your story that would be in your movie? You already got Larintiz and Kongo. Could you give us at least one more?
Oof. Okay. My brother would have to be in it. And since my brother is a huge fan of Deadpool, and we have one voice actor who played Wolverine playing me, we would have either Ryan Reynolds, or if we couldn't get Ryan Reynolds, we would get Nolan North to voice my brother.
Low-key, I would kind of prefer Nolan.
Yeah.
Alright. This sounds like a fantastic movie. A blockbuster, to say the least. And you could pre-order...
Are you kidding? This thing would go straight to DVD.
On the contrary. And you could pre-order the tickets now. Now, onto a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza.
All right.
What's your stance?
Love it. Love it.
Okay, so you are pro pineapple on pizza.
Definitely. Next controversial question.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon is Wargreymon, because I didn't like Pokemon growing up.
I will accept that answer. Now, we love the late great Tracy Smothers on the show. Do you know the acronym for Doug? TH.
Yes, sir, I do. T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a thug can't spell.
Hell yeah. We love the late great Tracy Smothers. We're trying to keep the memory alive on the show.
I was going to say, there's a lot of people that are with you on that one. A lot of love for Tracy Smothers. A lot of love for him.
Did you have an encounter with Tracy, or just a fan?
Had a couple of encounters with Tracy Smothers. Tracy Smothers it was me and my tag partner at the time, Omega D, like the Pitbull Omega. We were on the outside while Tracy Smothers was wrestling this guy by the name of Sexy Stan Sierra. And we were in Stan Sierra's corner. And I think Tracy had just gotten back from knee surgery. And he's like, "Come on, guys, work my leg, work my leg." It's like, but you're Tracy Smothers. You just had surgery. You're Tracy Smothers. He's like, "You two stop being such pussies and hit me. Hit my leg." I'm like, and both me and Omega were just like kind of looked at each other, and we just started crying like, "We're sorry, Tracy." We get to the back, and of course, like, we thank Tracy for, working with us and all that. And then he gave us each a piece of advice, and he'd said to me, not a lot of people are working that Bruiser Brody style nowadays, man. Not a lot of people are working that Bruiser Brody style nowadays, man. You need to keep that up. That's what's going to separate you. That's what's going to separate you. But the guy was so willing to share knowledge, and was so willing to, much like Uncle Bob, help out and make the locker rooms that he was in better than they were when they came in. And that is something I will forever remember about Tracy Smothers.
And that's awesome. I mean, even Tracy, acknowledging, the similarities between you and Brody.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very special moment.
Weirdest question you'll be asked on a wrestling interview, hopefully.
All right.
Would you ever consider wrestling a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not a country, an actual physical Rock.
More than likely, yes, because you see, me and Rocks have heat.
Okay.
I was a little kid and I was running around in this park and I tripped and I ended up going down a hill, and all of a sudden there was this big rock there that stopped me, right? Trying to be a help and all that, I know, but this dumb fuck decided it was going to be high enough to where I would hit my head and like top of my head, most of my face on this rock.
Ouch.
I want to get mine back. So yeah, no, I'll wrestle a rock.
Okay. It seems like this is
that rock in particular.
Well, just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that indeed wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasted for 2 weeks.
I was about to say, who won that one?
Technically, The Rock did. It was 319 to 319. But the Rock was the champion. So, because it was a draw, The Rock retained. So The Rock won.
Did The Rock have also creative control in his contract?
That would be something you'd have to ask the promoter. But yes, this Rock is very really well connected, let's say.
All right. No worries.
Pretty sure it's
but
not
that
the
Rock
Rock
also
that
seems
you.
like he'd go into business for himself. So.
But I'm pretty sure it's not the Rock that you had a rivalry with.
Oh yeah, no. I would much rather work the Rock that I wanted to work with, or that I've got heat with, rather than.
Yeah, we need to find that Rock. We need to make this happen. Von Vertigo.
That Rock must pay.
Maybe you and Mike can team against those two Rocks. Tag team match.
Most definitely. Somebody book it.
Von Vertigo, you heard it. Book the damn match. Alright, on to a more serious note. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh. 5 years. So I'm 33 now, so that put me at 38. At 38, I hope to have wrestling as my full-time living. I would like at some point to have my own school. Probably, I don't know. You know, I try to think in like, what am I doing in the next 6 months? But like, I don't know. Either I will have everything I want, or I'll have ridden off into the sunset. I don't know yet.
Okay, so not exactly sure. Just kind of taking it every 6 months.
No, yeah, one day at a time. You know.
And what is a match that you would recommend to people that best shows off you as a pro wrestler?
When it drops online, Jake Braddock versus Larintiz X from TACW. That match would be one that I would recommend. I would also have to recommend Jake Braddock versus Yuzuki. She's a girl that has come a long, long way since I first met her. Although we are on opposite sides of the fence as far as like where our values stand. She wants to wrestle by the rules. She wants to get the adulation of the people. She wants to do all of this. I really don't give a shit about that. I want to get in, do my thing, and get paid to do it. That match between me and her was basically an intense duel. It wasn't a match. It was a duel. Because, like, she's about 5'11", almost 6 foot tall. So she and I could look eye to eye. And she's, I don't know, it's very rude to ask a woman how much she weighs, but she's a big girl. She's a big girl and she's strong. But she's really, her confidence level that day was on point. And although I wasn't at my limit, she got pretty close. Another match that I would recommend is me versus the 6'2" masked dumbass named Samus. Although I lose that match, this fucker beat me with a Kaniku Buster, a muscle buster for you American fans. This dude beat me with a move from an anime. I'll get mine back. Trust me, I will get mine back on him. But I think those matches would be the ones that I would recommend.
And can we find these matches on YouTube?
You can find me versus Samus on YouTube. You can find me versus Yuzuki on YouTube. Soon, probably within the next month or two, once the video is complete, or once the video is finished editing and all that, you can find me versus Larintiz X at TACW Mystery Violence Theater 3000 on the projection box. But that match has yet to drop online.
Okay. So, I will find those matches on YouTube, and I will get the link to them and put it in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. When the match with Larintiz drops, I could even update the video if it hasn't came out when this interview drops itself.
Do it.
Yeah.
Watch them. There's another match that I'll recommend as well. It's me and my very good friend, my tag partner, my big sister, Miss Mongol. So for you FMW fans, that is the same Miss Mongol that came from that promotion versus Yuzuki and Bonako. There's another girl that she is no longer in the wrestling business, but she had all the potential in the world. Like, she was literally one of the nicest people you would ever meet, but she was so nice and so sweet that I just wanted to punch her in the face. So, but that's just Jake Braddock for you. But we were in a Kabukicho street fight in a bar in Kabukicho. So I was in my element, and those two went in not knowing really what to expect in that match. They got their asses kicked. But that was another really good match. So I'll send the links for all of that.
I appreciate it. And like I said, you can find them in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox, for anybody that hasn't seen them, wants to see them, wants to re-see them after this interview. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
All right.
This is our speed round or bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Ooh. Current day? No, we're going to go past. Brody.
Worst wrestler.
Worst wrestler of all time. Mantar.
You're main eventing WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
It would be Jake Braddock versus Drew McIntyre.
Hell yeah. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
I'm going to have to go with Taker, the Ministry theme. So specifically WrestleMania 15.
Yeah.
Because that has the heavy metal intro. Like, yes, that one.
100% banger. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is...
Still alive, still wants us. We just haven't taken care of her very well.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast. Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Vegetable.
It is indeed a fruit.
Did not know that.
Yes, it has seeds. Tomato logic.
Ah.
New Japan wrestler Tai Chi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
Oh, God. I'm old school. Cover that up. It'll ride up during the match anyways, so you really have no choice. You're going to show a little cheek.
So full coverage.
The full coverage, like if it was me, full coverage. But wrestling is wrestling, so yeah, those trunks are going to ride up anyways. So you'll have to just get comfortable with showing just a teeny bit of cheek.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
No.
And that is the correct answer. And that will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And once again, where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
So, merchandise, you can find those at shows when I finally get around to getting it. Or if you are in Japan, you can find them at any hot shushu show that you go to. They are really cool and they make merch for me. Go buy them because that adds to my paycheck. You can find me at the Jake Braddock on Instagram, and you can find me on X, Twitter, whatever the hell we're calling it these days, at Jake Braddock, JKG.
Okay, and you don't even have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox, simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Give him a damn follow. And if you're at a show, buy a damn shirt.
Damn right.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, but on YouTube and Castbox. This was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, both on X, Thread, and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling with, you say entertainment, okay?
Alright.
For our very special guest, Jake Braddock, Calico Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling with
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.